And we are live. Excellent. So just bear with me here as I turn these things off. Okay. I'll stop share. Okay, perfect. Funny where everything happens to appear on your screen when you happen to be. Okay, wonderful. Well, folks, welcome to the Go for Diamond call this evening. And the topic this evening is, are you looking for results? And of course, third-party validation is key. And so what we're going to do this evening is we're going to spend about 5 to 10 minutes and to talk a little bit about some of the protocol of the third-party credibility, because some of you might be new. Some of you might be listening on Facebook Live. We want to welcome you. If you're happy to be here live on Zoom, it's actually activeteamwebinar.com or go for diamondtraining.com. Go for diamondtraining.com. Either one will take you right here. And every time we have an event, we're very specific. So on the Monday night, we do recommend you go to goforddiamondtraining.com so that way you'll never miss it. And so let's get started. And Tammy, before I share my screen, so we go through some of the protocol, did you have anything to add?
No, let's just jump right into it because I think this is a critical subject for everybody, actually, in evolving in signing people up in their businesses. And this is what's going to help you tremendously. I know it's helped for Chris and I in the past, and we still do it. This is one thing it's part of the system. And I know often people miss this one tiny segment that can make the biggest difference in your signups. And we've all been through the process of going and doing this. So we just want to go through the basics of the system. And then we're going to bring in some people who are doing third-party calls for their team members and also being that third party. And I think at the end, Chris, we should just open up for questions and then create an assignment around it.
Yes, absolutely. And just for those of you that might be interested, and I'll put that on the post on the Facebook Live once the call is completed. But if you happen to be here on Zoom, let me post hold on. I was trying to copy the link for you to have access to this training. Okay, here we go. Okay, is there a reason why it's being moody?
Yeah, you definitely want to go back and review this. And here's the thing. There's learning and then there's doing. And you can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and watch videos and read books and do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what's really important is to act on it. Well, the moment you learn something, go and act on it. That's one thing that I have to say that we're pretty good at. And that's why we get a lot of the results that we want, because we don't think about it. We just go and do it and see how it works out. And then we learn and grow from there. So rather than trying to be perfect and, writing things down and having the right thing to say, I'm telling you, often just in communication, that alone is going to get them to want to partner with you, just in that relationship building part of the third party validation.
Yeah, and first of all, I also want to welcome Luz from Puerto Rico and Barry. It's nice to see you here. And Vivienne, thank you for joining in. Hello, Lucy. How are you? And again, Ade, thank you for coming in from Nigeria. It is 2 a.m. for you, so thank you for coming in. It's a real honor to have you with us here. We just spoke a few days ago, and which, as a matter of fact, Adele was a result of a third-party credibility call, which is exactly the topic of this evening that Paul introduced me to. We had a wonderful conversation. It was great. And so let us kind of walk you through some of the protocol. Just give me a thumbs up to confirm you can see my screen. Okay, excellent. So again, this is basic stuff. And understand, folks, that the third-party credibility, as Tammy stated earlier, it's probably one of the most powerful tools that you have. But unfortunately, most people don't use it. But the ones who do are always the one that seems to get ahead a lot further. And maybe you are also, I don't want to also undermine the fact that you might be also be a person that your team utilize for third party credibility, which is totally what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean that you need to talk to Tammy or I. It's the fact that you're utilizing this third party credibility to build your business. It is absolutely critical. And it's the way that the human brain actually functions when it comes to establishing credibility, right? So one of the point here, again, we just want to go through very quickly here. And again, we have these trainings on the success cycles. We have that recorded, but it's good to do a little review. Is obviously the duplication process is we do the prospecting, the inviting, and then the following up. And the reason why these three elements are very important is that establish the trust. And this is really kind of the system that we constantly rotate. And what we're going to be talking about quickly is why is it important, which we kind of alluded earlier, when to use it, when do we actually use this, and how do we do it? Now, we're not going to go through a lot of details when it comes, because today we have Samsung phone, we have Apple phones, we have all sort of things, and everybody can figure this out on their own. If you don't know me, I suggest that you go to YouTube and just type in how to, for example, you do third-party call with Apple phone or with whatever. And that way you'll have 1,000 little children telling you exactly what they do and how they go about it. And that way you can learn everything you need to learn. So the point here, what's really important, and I'll pass it over to Tammy here for a minute after, is why is it important? One is it established credibility, because often you might be excited about an opportunity, and the people you might be approaching or talking to, they may say, well, what do you know about this company? What do you know about about wellness or supplements? Or are you a doctor? And these are often things that are being thrown at people when they're new. So it established credibility because there's a lot of information that we have to be able to help you deviate some of the challenges that you may see as obstacles. Connect your prospect to something bigger, builds the relationship, which is really, really important. Cost effective. Again, the reason why this, is at the time we used, we were driving, we'd meet people, we'd go coffee. And now because of the pandemic, everything's changing. So, it's just works right, very nicely in the way we're evolving in the way we do business today. It's time effective. You can do a lot of business by utilizing third-party credibility. And the fact is, business build while you're being trained. So what's important is some of us have been doing this for decades. So we don't even have to think about it. It's just part of how we breathe. So you will learn the process and how we go about establishing credibility, answering questions, and making sure that the prospect is comfortable with the information. And this is how we move along. Validate building the business. Well, that's what we said. Validate you, okay, which is a very important thing. And one of the most important aspects is move your prospect to the next step. See, someone who's experienced, they have a process to get the person to move forward to either become an associate or become a customer, or what kind of information would be necessary for me to send to you for you to be able to be in a position to make an educated decision. We'll come back to that a little later. And the other point is duplication. The duplication process is key. When you've got people in your downline and your organization that are starting to do three-way calls with you, and then their downline are using themselves as third-party credibility, that's when money starts coming in. Until that happens, you're always going to be recruiting new people. But once people start doing their own calls and their own prospecting activities and their own third-party credibilities, that's when you make money. Go ahead, Tammy.
So when to use third-party credibility, obviously in the whole process, you get a feel for it. I mean, you know your people, you know your prospects, and get a feel for it. But when you're brand new, what's really important is that's part of the system process. When you're brand new, when you don't have the experience under your belt to do the follow-up closing. Chris and I can easily do a follow-up closing on our own, as you know. We don't do it on our own because it's not the system, and we wouldn't be duplicatable at all. So we like to follow the system so that when the moment we have a prospect and we put them through, building the relationship, inviting them to come and look at something, and then in the follow-up process, we bring a third party in always. And we're going to talk about it after with some of the individuals we're inviting to this session tonight to talk about how they do it, just to bring the human element to it. And honestly, I like to bring the human element of we work as a team. We work as a team, and people like that. If they're going to do something, they want to know that there's support. There's a lot of support. We work as a team. I'd like to introduce you to so-and-so. And people are open. But if you just kind of go, oh, I just want to introduce you to so-and-so, then people are a little bit resistant. So you got to know when to bring them in, when to use it. And then, of course, once you bring it in, the person that you're bringing in to validate everything is going to build a little bit of a rapport. But obviously, the first question is, so what did you like best about what you saw? Not what did you think, because people can go off and off. You want them to bring you to what their interest is. If it's product, then you start expanding on that area. If it's business, you want to go expand on that area too. So that's what's really important. And of course, Chris, there's many questions, but I think we should just bring it to because I really want to.
No, that's fine, Tammy. But just to carry on this slide, this is very important. I want to mention that every single time almost every single time when I speak with a prospect, I'm trying to gauge from 1 to 10, 10 being the most interested, 1 being the least interested, where do you stand? And this question here is critical. So for me, if it's a 7 and above, generally, I know I can sign him up. If it's below a 7, then there's more work to be done. This is why I really like this one. I wanted to reinforce that. And the fact too is introducing your new associates to your team leader is a big plus. I wanted to identify that also. And when you talk about third-party credibility, I'm not going to get into a lot of details on preparation and everything else, but it's good to plan ahead. Like Tammy said, if you just kind of shoot from the hip and say, hey, Chris, do you have 5 minutes to speak with a person and I have no clue? It's okay. And trust me, I can think on my feet. Not everybody can do that, Joe, but I can think. But the reality is, if you plan the call and you tell me or tell Tammy or tell whoever that you're planning to call with a little bit about what's going on, then we can create a better scenario when we're speaking with a person. Okay. So in moving forward, what's very important when you look at the third party credibility, the person that's actually introducing, right, your prospect, you want to always create an equal value from the third party credibility, which is the leader, for example, whoever that third party credibility is, and your prospect, and to put them in the same level and not put the max leader here and the prospect down there. You want to create a balance of power, because it just makes the person more comfortable. And I know many of you know this stuff, but this is the basic things. And if you want to get more details on that, I do recommend you go through the success cycle and watch that training. Okay. And what's very important as you close off the conversation, I tend to be very goal oriented. Did we achieve our goal? Are you in a position to make an educated decision? See, and I'm trying to understand where the person is in the gauge from completely not ready to, I'm almost ready to either buy the product, try the product, or become an associate. And these are things that your downline will learn as you are progressing. And again, I'm not going to go through the details on the things, but there's different things you can use when it comes to WhatsApp. There's Messenger. Just very quickly, if you want to have, we're dealing in an international world, okay? And the reality is that, for example, the person, Tammy and I are doing a training with Bernard. Bernard is the guy that we met in LinkedIn, and we connected. And I could have signed him up by myself and everything else, but the reality is, he's Malaysian, and it just happens that Rachel is Malaysian. she's Malaysian, and she lives there, and she has a system. So I utilize a third-party credibility to establish, again, credibility on the fact that we are in the country. We know the person that's there. So it's just an example as to how there's so many different aspects of how third-party credibility can be utilized. And if you're not using that, building your business, you will have a rough time. It'll be difficult. But if you use third-party credibility, I'm not saying that necessarily things are easier, but your results will get better. That I have absolutely no doubt. So one thing here that's very important is leveraging leaders equal leveraging income. This is a really important message. If you leverage your leader's success, your income will be reflected on a positive aspect of the sense, right? So at this point, Tammy, did you want to add anything else to these slides, or we want to move on to interacting?
Yeah, let's move on to interacting, because I
Okay.
think it's important that people are hearing from the ones who are getting the results. And I made quick messages to a few people in this group, and I'd like to add a couple more since you are here. And I want the individuals to share your process, and because each one of us are unique, and each one of us are going to be at a comfort level of inviting people to do a third party, and I'd love to hear from some of your most recent results, because that's the most important thing, is to be actively doing it. So that's why I wanted to have certain individuals to do it that are actively doing the third party validation. So I wanted to go over to Janet Moriyama in Burlington, Ontario. Chris, yeah, she's unmuted now. Okay. And maybe share with the group your experience now, but I wanted you to share also, Janet, some of your past programming thinking when it came to third party validation, and then bring in what results you're getting today.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. So initially, I didn't follow the system, which is doing the third party validations. I know that I was always hearing it in the trainings, and I always heard it with the leaders, and I saw the leaders getting success with it, but it was just something that was forgotten. And now today, I highly encourage everyone to do this, because if you're missing this part of the system, it's the missing link. Like for me, a third party call is like inviting someone to a party. Like you want to expose them to your environment, to your friends, to your community. And it's kind of like at my work, when someone walks through that door, everyone gets a feeling. So when I expose people to the feeling of the environment, that's what really sells people initially. And it's just having another person validate what you're so passionate about, and them getting another perspective. So it's just like excitement that turns into momentum, into more excitement. And then, two people are excited, three people are excited on the call, and it's just infectious. So, I mean, it builds an extreme amount of credibility, and it gives the person a vision. And I've even used this for not just new people, but for existing associates. So I recently did a third party call with Tammy, with Kate, and that turned into a whole different belief system for her. Now she's been taking Cellgevity for 2 years, and when she became more exposed to our community, she just kept sharing with me how much love and how much support that she felt within this group, and that she'd be interested in doing this as a business. Like, mind you, she's a 28-year-old girl, or sorry, 30-year-old girl. So she's still young, but you can bring these people along. And I have Vivian on here. Are you there, Vivian? She's
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Vivian. So Vivian got really excited about the products, but we talked about the products, and then we talked about the business. I sent her links. We did a Zoom call, and then from there we booked a 3-way call with Tammy. And I was actually on vacation when we did that. And I thought that, I don't know what you thought, Vivian, but like that probably gave you a different view of, a perspective of a company. Yeah, I can't hear you, but anyways, so yeah, I encourage everyone to do it.
What happened here? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, different perspective for sure.
Yeah.
You feel that you have a company behind you, a support.
Yeah.
Net. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the more success you're going to find you're going to have, because it's while you're doing it, you're also training the people, that your prospects, on how to do this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. Yeah, lots of great insight there. And I like at the end when you added, you're actually training them how to do it by doing it. And that's what I was telling you a little bit earlier. Everybody, I was mentioning that, you can learn all you want. You can watch a video all you want, but when you go out and do the action on it, that is when you grow personally, but you're also going to build belief around you as well. So yeah, I know, Janet, you're doing a lot of that, and I know as Vivian's leader, you'll be doing a lot of three-way calls with her as well. So that's fantastic. All righty, so let's go over to Paul Tessaman in Oakville, Ontario.
Hey, Tammy, can you hear me?
I know you got lots of experience under your belt. You see, Chris's office is right behind me here in Florida. And I know that you do a lot of sessions with Chris. So yeah, just expand on the things that you're doing and how, how uncomfortable, if it was uncomfortable for you at the beginning, and then where you are today with all of this.
Yeah, well, it really was uncomfortable. In fact, I hesitated in doing it, but I found out when I started doing the third-party calls, that's where I learned a lot. Because I was afraid to do them initially, but I did a number with you, Tammy. I did a number with Chris, and I learned more on a third-party call than anywhere else, because I knew how to objections, how to slow the objections down, how to kind of diffuse an objection, which I didn't know when I didn't do the calls. So I find you learn a lot on a third party. The reason why I do them is because it's validation also. People want to belong to something bigger than themselves, and a third party gives them an idea that it's not just about me or about you if you're doing it. It's about the support system that you have. So you get credibility and you get validation, which I think is kind of cool. So I've got 3 reasons why I use it. Number one, it works. I get a 70 to 90% success rate when I do third-party calls. I really do. It goes up exponentially. And the second reason I do it is because I'm setting up, as mentioned before by Janet, I think, duplication. So if I do the third party, the person that comes in is going to do the third party also. So that's kind of cool, right? And the third reason is, I think I mentioned it, is because I learn more from a third party call than I've learned before. And I think that's an amazing way to learn, by doing, as you mentioned, Tammy, the activity. So those are the reasons why. And by the way, I find that the third party call on the prospecting system is the biggest and powerful tool in the toolbox. And people are not digging into the toolbox to do a third party call. And you're missing out if you don't do it.
That's an understatement, Paul. And in fact, I know that Ade's here.
Yep.
Since he's up at 2 a.m. from Nigeria, I'd love to get his feedback from how he felt from the call. Hold on. Ade, I know I put you on the spot, and I do apologize for doing that, but I know you're a very, very smart guy and you think very fast. So I figured I'd love to get your feedback from the whole process. How did you feel?
So, so I would say for the third party call was a bit of more validation for me, but beyond the validations was clarity for me actually. So, because when I was speaking with Paul, I wasn't getting direct answers of what I wanted to get immediately. So speaking with you actually made me have a bit more clarity And I decided to say, okay, good, I'm doing this actually self. So adding one and two together and listening to this actually is giving me more ideas actually, since I'm still new on the process actually, but I'm taking in my notes and knowing what to do moving forward actually self. So I can say actually from where I stand is I'm understanding what to do as my next point of call. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. So, Paul, was there anything else you want to add before I pass it over to Tammy?
No,
Thank you, Eddie.
that's it. Definitely not. The third party is the biggest tool in the toolbox. I mentioned that, and we got to use it. We got to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've all had great experiences with third-party sessions, and I want to talk about things. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and I want to talk about that later. But how do you handle some of this stuff as well? And you never take anything personally either, because they just might not be ready, right? So I'm going to go over to Jasmine, who is in Burlington right now, correct?
Yes.
Where are you?
Yes,
Hamilton.
near Toronto. Hamilton, yeah. Another week, and then I'm going down to Mexico.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
All righty. So I guess stick with the same formula of, when you first got started, I just have to say you were literally on fire, super excited, and you just brought a bunch of people to your home and brought us to that third-party validation at the beginning. But now things have changed, with the pandemic. There's so many things that are going on. So maybe share a little bit of insight around all that.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, Tammy, when I got started, it was all face-to-face, so that you and Chris were there at my in-homes to answer these questions. But one of the things, in addition to everything that everybody else is saying, the thing to me that's so important is that when there's a new prospect that we're having a conversation with, and we don't know whether they're going to become a customer, an associate, whether it's going to be now, whether it's going to be later, or maybe it's not at all, it doesn't resonate with them. So when I bring, and typically it'll be you or Chris in, what happens is that prospect knows right away that there is support there. And that support is not just us talking about it, but they actually experience it. They feel it because they lived through it. They went through it, so that if they're thinking about, well, I wanted to try the product, but I don't know if I can do this business right away. You've taken away that concern for them, because they don't have to know everything. They know that support system is there because they were at the receiving end of it, and then they know they can plug into that. So that's huge for me, that they know that from day one, or even before day one, that support system isn't just talk, but it's real. The second thing that I love about the three-way calls is that it moves things faster. So for example, as Chris was saying, if there's somebody that, and he'll say to them, so based on what you've seen so far, where are you at from 1 to 10? Where do you see yourself at with getting ready to get started? And Chris said, if it's 7 or above, he knows that they're ready to go. I know that they're ready to go. So that moves things faster, rather than being me wondering, are they going to, or are they not going to, especially when we're first starting. We don't know how, we sometimes aren't comfortable with that because we think of that as sales. What we're really doing is checking in with them to see where they're at, but we're not so skilled at doing that. The other thing that it works when I say move things faster, I had an experience that I brought Chris in on a three-way call, and this person I thought was interested in trying the product, but because Chris was asking him certain questions and the way that he was answering them, it was really clear to Chris. I didn't see it, but it was really clear to Chris. And he asked the guy, are you actually genuinely interested in looking at this business opportunity or trying this product? Or are you trying to recruit Jasmine into what you're doing? Because he had a coaching business and he was actually looking for somebody to be his client. And when Chris said that, the guy, it was like evident, he wasn't there at all interested in anything that we had to say. So when it was done, he really was trying to recruit me, but I didn't see that at first. So after the call was over, Chris called me, said, I hope that you're okay with that, because Chris didn't want me to feel like that he blew that guy out for me. And I said, No, I said, oh my gosh, you saved me like hours and days and weeks of potential wasted time that I would have just been spinning my wheels. So that, like I said, it moves things forward or faster, whichever way it's going to go. It just moves them faster. So you get real clear about things. Like Paul, I've learned how to deal with objections. There are no objections for me anymore because I've learned from you and Chris. The last thing that I want to say is just like Chris was talking about when there was somebody from Malaysia, he hooked them up with Rachel with a three-way call. For me, it's all about creating a connection with the commonality. When I have that prospect that I'm talking to, I'm thinking, so I had, for example, I've been working on, for the last few weeks, I'm working with somebody, we just bought a new car, and he was a car salesman, and he also, through the conversation, coaches hockey. So what did I do? I always carry product with me. I left him 2 ATP, sent him the questionnaire, he tried it, and so now we're going from there. He loved the ATP. So the conversations are going back and forth. And then it got to last night that he's now going to watch some of the videos. He's been crazy busy. But right away, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's coaching hockey in his junior A level. Who do I know on the team that's there, somebody that plays hockey that's had an amazing success story with the ATP? And right away, I thought about Brian Watkinson, Janet's husband. And I thought, Brian used to tell this story all the time about how his daughter, Lauren, not only was she like, go, like crazy on the rink, but that she was laser sharp focused, that she was like 2 steps ahead of the play. And the coaches were going like, whoa, what's going on with Lauren? So I said to him, and the prospect that I have right away, I said to him last night, I said, let me know once you watch these 2 videos, plus the ones I email you, and I'll arrange a 3-way call with a friend and business partner named Brian. He will share with you what ATP did for his 2 hockey children. They are now in university, but their game went to a whole new level. So there's no hesitation to do the 3-way call. I just put it out there that it's going to happen because they're going to relate, they're going to connect. So those are the things that I wanted to share. Why 3-way calls are just the cat's meow. Got to do it. Got to do it.
This is wonderful, Jasmine. And it was really, really good feedback. And overall, guys, what's really important here is clarity. The clarity for me, if you can establish that in a phone conversation, and like Jasmine used this example with this gentleman, I was trying to recruit her. At the end of the day, I know Jasmine's working hard, and I know that time is very precious, and I know that's the same for all of you. And if I see someone, that is generally not interested, because I throw questions out there, and I feel they're not biting. They're just not biting. And what I mean by that is you can see there is no interest there. They're always deviating the answer to something else and try to get you to towards their agenda. And at the end of the day, I very politely and extremely respectful. I ask him, and I give him 3 options. Where do you stand? Are you generally, not to repeat everything, and the guy, was pretty clear. And once the clarity was established, everybody was comfortable because I respected him for doing what he's doing, because that's his job. That's what he does, which is what we do. But the thing is, let's just be clear. And this is how I build my business. And this is how I try to mentor people, is clarity is key. And the moment there's gray areas and we're not sure, and you don't know if they're in the genuine interest, or when you're going to start, do they want to start? Do they want to be on the product? Do they believe it in? Because once you're clear on these things, then you can really work on the problem and clarifying the problem by sharing some experiences and some real life situations that can really clarify what's going on with why they may feel a certain way about the industry of network marketing or products or supplements or whatever. And this is how you end up eventually building trust and confidence. And this is something that's very important. Is you never, and I know all of you here, but I still want to share, it's very important that you do not exaggerate, that you do not try to make things bigger than they are, right? And because when you do that, then often what's going to happen is eventually reality will hit. They will see the reality of how things are going. And then you end up losing these people because this is not how they were interpreted. It's not how the information was interpreted to them. So clarity is key. And I think that's the reason why Tammy and I have had such a long lasting relationship with our leaders from all over the world, 15 years. And that is critical. And it starts from the prospecting aspect. Another person I can think about was Abraham with Paul. I mean, Abraham is actually right now is opening up a market. This gentleman was a prospect. Now he's opening up a market. Do you understand how this, you don't know who you talk to. So, but there was a lot of clarity, there was a lot of patience, but clarity established right from the beginning. And I remember at one point, he was considering ordering $1,000, I said, this is awesome. Have you heard me do that before when we start Ghana? Same thing. Let's make sure that things work. Let's make sure the products can get to you. Because I was genuinely, I wouldn't say concerned. I was being attentive to his wallet and the fact that if he spends money to make sure that the results are going to come to him. And he really appreciated that. And what that happened is it built that credibility, that trust, where today, Abraham is a wonderful friend, which is an associate of Paul Testament. Again, it was utilized, started with third-party credibility. So thank you, Jasmine. That was great insight and great feedback. Back to you, Tammy.
Yeah, so I'm just going to open up. Does anybody else want to give some feedback on the results they're getting with third-party validation?
Kathy, I would like to.
Perfect.
So this goes back historically to the beginning. So I'm new in business. I've never been in business before. I didn't know what I was doing. And I called. There were other people in Fairbanks, Alaska, where I live, who were involved in the business, and some of them had enrolled associates. But I observed very quickly that no one really knew what they were doing. So I had a vision of climbing to a really tall mountain. And I know that everybody on this call has a really high mountain and they're aiming for the top. And I immediately went, these people aren't aiming for the high mountain like I am. So I called a diamond leader and I said, what do I do? And he said, invite people to look and follow up with a partner. And I said, okay, why? And he gave me all the reasons that are wonderful, and you gave them all today. But here's what he said. He goes, look, Kathy, you're not the first associate in Alaska, but you're going to be making more money than all of them in a year because you're actually doing the third-party validation. And everybody locally had stopped. And because they stopped, and that's what I wanted to say is, because they stopped doing what worked, their businesses stopped growing. And both of the leaders I was working with said, we don't know why they stopped, but they stopped. And so I got it from day one through third-party calls. And when we are doing them, if our prospect thinks they need to know all the answers, like I'm a glutathione expert, admittedly I am. I find it fascinating, but my background is biochemistry. But if everybody thinks they have to become a biochemistry expert, I'm dead in the water. That's not what grows my business. What grows my business is to get Alan on the phone or somebody else who can answer their questions. And I'm just the connector. I'm just the connector. And I learned so much by doing that. But I know to this day that I still need to do the three-way calls. That's all I wanted to say is if you don't do them, your business probably won't grow. If you do them, your business will grow. And does that mean everybody enrolls? No. But it might mean that you've extended the invitation for them to look at something else. That I'm in the midst of that right now. I have a bunch of people who want to see something else. So, okay, anyway, thank you.
No, that's good. It's absolutely awesome, Kathy. Well
Thanks
done.
for your feedback. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. The ones who are doing the full system are the ones that are getting the results. And we see it all the time, over and over and over. So it gives us all good lessons in the process, because when we first started doing network marketing, I was not coachable. Just so you know, I didn't follow the system for about a few months. It took me a few months to figure out that these people were making money. I was not. What am I doing wrong? Now I got to get my crap together and start doing it the right way. And then I started making money in this profession. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw what I had written in the chat there. So Yeah, it took me about 6 months to join Max, and it's when I met Jasmine for the first time at Bernadette's, and I asked her about her skin because she had the most beautiful skin, and then I later found out that she was much older than me. And I said, "Well, what do you do?" And she said, "Oh, I take the supplement." And then she changed the subject and started talking about something else, and it got me really curious. And then I said, "What's that product?" She goes, "Oh, it's this," and she showed me the bottle, and then she put it away. And but she didn't really like she wasn't in my face about it. And so after repeated exposures, like I always thought about it. And then next thing you know, I was like promoting it at my office. And I think I sent at least a dozen people like that to Bernadette. And that's when they said, "Well, why don't you do the business?" I said, "I'm not interested." And they said, "Well, you are doing the business when you're sharing." And that's what I was doing. I was sharing because I would find people that would have arthritis, or people that felt sad, or someone that was trying to get pregnant, or someone that, was in pain, or someone that wanted more energy. So went on, and I got super excited. And then Brian got really excited, and he's like a science mind. If you ask Brian anything, he could recall any scientific NIH study. Like he's really like, I wish Brian would get more involved, but now is not his time, but I know he's slowly coming around. So when he's ready, he'll be ready. So some people, they're ready right away. Some people take years. And my husband's like a good example of someone that's taking years, because he's been with me for 6 years and he knows how great this is. But I had it in the back of my mind, I would say, for 6 months. And I just had a bit of fear taking that extra step, because I thought to myself, if I do this, is it going to be like a super commitment? But I learned that you can just go at the pace that you're comfortable at. And when you really want to go full guns, you can. So those are my thoughts. So when you're telling and sharing people and they don't jump at you right that second, or after like 3 or 4 exposures, they're always thinking about it. It's in the back of their mind. It's like, in life, we always think about things that we want, but then we think, "Oh, we'll get it later. We'll get it later. We'll do it later." So it's kind of, I think of that analogy.
Well done. Well done.
Excellent.
So let me bring Scott Anderson here, and thank you very much, Janet.
You're welcome.
Let me just bring it back here. There you go, Scott. And by the way, Scott, thank you for all that you do, and not to bring politics here, but I just wanted to share with you how much I appreciate you, and you're a true patriot of this country. So thank you for being you, and please go ahead and share.
Thank you, Chris. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, Janet, what you were sharing. But everybody's different. I had somebody explain one time, it's like having a pack of gum with all kinds of gum in it. And you have a bunch of people sitting around on your living room, and you go around to each person, ask them if they like a gum. One person might grab it, open the pack, and start chewing it right away. The next person might pass on it. The next person might take it, but not open it right away. Each person you go around, and then you finish and you think everybody's done. And then one person says, "Well, I'll take one after all." Everybody's different. So, it doesn't happen right away with everyone. So everybody's on different levels. So you have to have patience. You have to connect and be genuine. And for me, when I was first looking at Max, I was in a situation where I had just changed career, lost my career, and I was didn't realize I was looking for something else to do in life. And I was introduced to Max for the product's benefits. And then I went home and I did the research, and I chewed on that gum a little bit, found out more about it, and listened to the doctors. I looked into the science. I dug into testimony after testimony, and then we met with an upline leader, with the person that introduced me, and it was like a third-party credibility. And then also they started asking the questions, right? And one of the questions was, do you want to benefit from the products, or do you want to look at this also? There's availability for a business opportunity that's available if you choose. And it doesn't matter either way what you choose. I just want to let you know it's available. So when I heard that, it kind of piqued my interest. What I had been thinking, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I thought, well, I love talking to people. I love helping people. I love, doing stuff like that. And I'm able to share a video even if I'm disabled. And so I signed up for the business and I get the products on the way. So yeah, that third party credibility is huge, makes a big difference with your business and helps people move forward. And it also, being able to connect at that other level and see the bigger picture of that there's more involved with this and the support network and stuff that's available, it helps give more. So you're able to make a better educated decision on how you're going to go forward to take the next step. And either way, if you're looking at products or business, it doesn't matter because, like Janet said, at first she was just interested in the products, and then later on she made the decision to go with the business. So it can happen with anybody. So any decision is fine, just not to connect yourself with get attached to the outcome, and just help people understand at whatever level they're ready to understand with, and ask them the great questions like Chris and Tammy were saying, that allow them to make the decision that's right for them at the time, and then stay connected with them and help them, guide them to the next level if they're ready for that, whatever time they're ready. So yeah, but absolutely, I find it's very important to connect people on a personal level and build that relationship all the time,
which we know is key to
Yes.
building this business, especially in third party credibility. Thank you, Scott.
And sometimes when you're one-on-one and you're moving people along, they don't open up as much sometimes. And then you bring this third party, and the reason I'm saying it's happened to me so many times, you bring this third party validation connection in and just build, there's more relationship being built, and then whoever you're using to do that third party starts asking them questions. And here you're thinking that they're just going to go for the product. And then after they're asking questions, only to find out that they're in a pickle and they need something, or they might have been thinking of doing something, but they just didn't know what was out there. And then all of a sudden they open up to all this stuff that you didn't know. And then all of a sudden there's now an interest in the business, which is exactly what happened to you, Scott. So, you just never know where things are going to go. I've done third-party calls lots of times with associates who were pretty sure that person was going to go down the path to be just a customer, which is perfect. If that's where they want to go, that's where they're going. But sometimes in the conversation, things will come to play where you would ask a question and they're looking. They just don't know what's out there. And then you move them to another step. And then next thing you know, they're part of the team because they just felt really comfortable with the conversation. So the reason we really wanted to do this session tonight is because we know that some people struggle with this. Okay, we struggle with this. We all struggle with this. And it's called normal because we're not sure what the outcome is going to be. But you just gotta jump in and have some faith and just have the conversations flow, introduce, learn. Like Paul said, a few of you said you learned a lot just from doing that third-party validation, because eventually you're going to be that person that's going to be doing the third-party validation for your associates. So you need to learn the flow and the questions and to be able to listen attentively and read between the lines. And you get this really well through Zoom sessions. You get this really well through FaceTime, because some people I talk to, they're not on Zoom. So we'll just do FaceTime, right? So there's different platforms that work, but I think it's important to really follow the full system and learn from that experience. And if they're not ready yet, then you just find out when's the best time. Maybe, they're ready to try the product, and maybe down the road they'll look at something else in the opportunity part of it if the timing's not good for them. So yeah, does anybody have any more questions?
Okay, so let's kind of move on to the next. I think
Bill
someone
had a
Oh,
question.
Bill. Bill, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Find you.
So, thanks. At what point do you get the third party person for validation involved? At what point? And do you let the prospect know ahead of time, or is it spontaneous? Because sometimes, as you know, Tammy, to arrange it takes time, and sometimes people are not available.
True. Yeah. I mean, if you can get something spontaneous, then do it. Just send a quick text. Just say, I'm meeting up with somebody today. In the connection, you're going onto Zoom to do a presentation or something, and just say, hey, would you be open to pop in at the end? Just to say hello and maybe answer some questions, and I'll bring that in. It depends. Like, you got to feel it out, and you got to become really good at listening and moving people along, and that comes with experience, you guys. But when you're brand new, I love the book that Eric Worre has, the 8 steps, to moving people. And I recommend, when you're brand new, is to try and bring that third party in sooner than later. And in the conversation, when they're open to have a look at some information, you can come right in and say, hey, listen, when do you think you're going to have a chance to look at it? They're going to say tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Okay, great. If I connect with you at 7:30 on a Zoom session, would you be open, or would that time work for you? Gives you enough time to have a look at it. So you have that in a conversation. Just be natural, you guys. If you need some key points, follow key points, but be as natural as you can.
Maybe, Tammy, if I can just step in for 1 second. When it comes to Bill's question to availability of third-party credibility, one thing, Bill, if let's say you have an urgent call for a third-party credibility, you have someone right now hot, and you want to strike the iron while the iron is hot. For example, in my case, I know that sometime you'll reach me, and I may take a while to get back to you. But if you put a title, I have someone hot to talk to, right? Like, you don't leave me a generic email or a voicemail. Be specific, because this is how I prioritize my day. It's always about new business. So if you say I got a new lead, it's ready to speak now and they're hot. Okay, if I'm in the shower, then there's nothing I can do, but you know what I mean. That's why planning is always better. But the people who do that, they do get me for the calls. Okay, so I just want to add this. So continue, Tammy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So once you now he's kind of got me off a little bit. So once you the agreement is there, they're going to have a look at the information. You guys are going to hop on a Zoom after. Let them know that you work as a team with this company. And we want to make sure that we have all of your questions answered, because you will have questions. I always tell people, you will have questions. So what it does, it gets them to look at the information, because they need to ask some questions so that they, we have that engagement. So I always throw it in like, we are a team. We work together as a team. People like that, you guys. People love being part of a tribe. So leverage that. What's that, Chris?
You paused for a moment and I thought you froze. So
oh, okay.
I thought it was one of those moments.
So I know, Bill, did we answer both? I think it was 2 questions. It was the timing. And you know what? Yeah, just text people randomly and just say, hey, listen, I'm meeting up with somebody or I'm talking to somebody. Would you be available? It's always good to have a scheduled time because we do get pretty busy.
Sure.
But there are times where we're just prospecting and we have the time. It's like everybody else. You can leverage from each other too. Like Jasmine talked about, always find people that they're also going to relate to.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big group here and we'd all be supportive with each other because we can leverage from each other's stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've used Paul, I used Jasmine one time, and yeah, I think it's good to do that. Yeah. I like the idea of Zoom calls because you can see it face to face rather than telephone calls because anybody can come on the phone, right? I think it just gives it more credibility. And this is the new way of social media.
Yeah, totally.
And you're right. You know what, Bill? I get more results now using that visual part of it than I did doing third-party calls way back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So leverage Zoom, you guys. Make sure that all of you have your free Zoom accounts and go into the Zoom account. Learn how to book, to schedule a meeting on a Zoom, and then bring the third party into that. And that is your assignment. Okay, if we don't have assignments, we won't move forward with this. So this week, three third-party validation sessions on your Zoom booked. So whoever you're going to use, you're going to bring them in after they've looked at the information. Okay, so once you've sent them the whatever they're going to have a look at, set the time with them, let them know they're going to have questions, and book the Zoom with whoever you're going to use to bring into that platform. And the
Type
more
1
you
on the
do that-
keyboard if you intend to take that challenge. Press 1 if you intend to take the challenge. Let's see who will. Bill?
Three. That's nothing. All week. 3.
Janet? Paul? That's Sylvia?
And we're going to do
There you
a
go.
session on the results because we want to hear the results. At the end of the day, if we don't step out of our comfort zones, we will not get the results that we want. And that's
Brilliant.
the fact.
And
That's the
as
fact.
we end, I think just want to kind of bring back as a full close here, guys, is third-party credibility summary. See, the role of the person, you, the associate, is to edify the leader. Okay. And obviously edify your prospect, as I said earlier. And it's important to not interrupt the conversation because, like you heard earlier, sometimes we're trying to get someone to get to a certain direction. And if there's too many interruption in between the conversation, you keep deviating and it's very hard to get there. The call gets very long. It could get very complicated. So that's the reason why this is here. And at the end of the discussion, obviously you want to thank the leader, and also give your prospect the next step. Always have a next step. So you don't leave things up in the air because you're never going to close anything if you extend the meeting. And the mentor, the leader, if you happen to be the person who does the third-party credibility, it's to edify the actual associate. As Paul said earlier, and many others mentioned, is to establish credibility to that person. And 2 is to bring the credibility, which is B. And then build a relationship with your prospect, right? And sometimes as you get more experience, you can venture into different areas, like Jasmine was using as an example earlier with the person who's trying to recruit her. That comes with experience. But trust me, I've done that maybe once or twice in my entire career of doing network marketing. Well, let me rephrase, with Max International, 15 years, I think I've done that maybe twice. So it's most likely never going to happen. It's very rare. And the next is to help to move your prospect, excuse me, move the prospect to the next step, okay? The desire for the desired outcome. And that's really, really important is to establish clarity, credibility, and to get to next step all the time. And folks, listen, I know sometimes I come across that I talk about money, but let's face it, if you want to make money, you got to be upfront with it. If you hide with the fear of offending someone, unfortunately, you're never going to have it. And I'm saying this because I love you. I care for you. And I know many of you want the money. If you want the money, you got to ask for the money. But obviously, there's a way to do that. There's a way to go about it, right? So that's why we have all these protocols to get to it. But you can't be afraid to ask for the money, because everybody understands that inflation is just life is expensive. It's just the way things are. It's the way you verb it, and it's the way you establish your credibility around the reasoning why there's an investment involved, but that investment will turn around and give you a source of income. Make sure they understand that it's not money that is given away, it's money that is spent for their future. And that's the point I just wanted to bring up as a close. So Tammy, if you want to maybe share last words before we end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's bringing them the value of what it's going to do for them. So yeah, thanks everybody for your participation, and checking out all the ones there, and for those who are willing to step up. And hey, you know what? Even if you don't do 3, we always set a number. It's always moving towards the goal, right? So the key is to actively be doing what it takes for you to grow in your business. And we're here to support you, as you all know, and book us. Because if you don't book us, we're going to do our own prospecting and make it happen for ourselves. And of course, we want to help the team do it more than anything, because our goal is to help all of you succeed in this business.
Beautiful. Okay, guys, so let's give ourselves the sign language goodbye, and well done, everybody. It was actually wonderful, and looking forward to see you in future sessions. I know that we have a new set. We have another session, Tammy and I, to do a training with Bernard, which just came in. So thank you for joining in, Bernard. So everybody have yourself a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night.